The Thomas R. Bell Pioneer Award recognizes men and women who made important contributions to the growth of the Tennessee Gas Association before the Silver Flame Award was created in 1990. Two winners are named each year. One posthumously this year, Lester Sims, Fayetteville Gas System, and one, Dennis Newberry, Texas Gas Transmission Corporation. Lester Sims was the first manager of the Fayetteville natural gas system.
Well, Lester is one of the rocks or foundation, I guess, for the gas industry in Tennessee. He was a community leader, and he brought respect to natural gas. It's hard to remember the problems gas had back in those days because of no one's familiar with it. The only thing they knew about gas was it might kill you because they don't experience manufactured gas. But it took people like Lester with his approach to business to teach people that natural gas was fine and safe and something they ought to have in their homes.
Fayetteville being a small town, he had to have more growth than that, so he had to help through the TGA and through all the utilities.
Former associates at Fayetteville were asked what one word would best describe Lester Sims.
Dedicated. And I went to work under Mr. Sims in December of 1967. But he goes back, Mr. Sims goes back to 1950 in the natural gas industry.
I would say that he was very strict in what he wanted us to do and how the system was run.
Mm-hmm. Gentleman. He was a true gentleman in every way.
Very particular. Something that impressed me about him, he wore a suit and tie all the time on his job. He was always neat as a pin, and he wanted the place to be as neat as a pin.
I'm going to say that he was kind, and I say it because of the way he treated me, but I also know how he treated his customers and people on the system, his employees. And it was the same across the board, kind.
Lester Sims was a vital voice in the founding of the TGA.
He declined to serve as president of Tennessee Gas Association, but he served on the board continuously from 1962 on, and virtually every committee of Tennessee Gas. Lester was probably your classic Southern gentleman, very gracious, very proper, very polite, very kind man.
Sims passed away September 2009, survived by his wife of 70 years, Faye, 2 sons, 1 daughter, 7 grandchildren, 6 great-grandchildren. Lester Sims. Also receiving the Thomas R. Bell Pioneer Award, Dennis Newberry, longtime president of Texas Gas in Owensboro, Kentucky. Newberry was a member of the first TGA board in 1964. At that first board meeting, somebody came up with the idea that the next year TGA should have an annual conference, its first in Gatlinburg. That somebody? Dennis Newberry, who a decade later, 1974, served as president of the TGA.
Dennis was a kind of a bull of a man. He came roaring on. He was a marketer. He believed in what he was doing. And when we first met, we were having breakfast one day, and he ordered oatmeal, and he had a dip of vanilla ice cream put on right on top of it, and I was impressed. But he brought a new light to our area. He was one of the 2 pipelines, Texas Gas Pipeline, joined East Tennessee and Tennessee to promote gas. And most of his market was in the western part of the state, but it didn't matter to him. He wanted to build a market for gas, and he was instrumental in building it in East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and West Tennessee.
Okay, well, Dennis Newberry is one of the people who was first involved with the Tennessee Gas Association in 1962. And at the first annual meeting in 1964, he became a member of the first board of directors and served on the board until he retired from Texas Gas in 1987.
Another thing about Dennis was he was totally fair. He helped the small systems that were on Texas Gas system. And back then, they not only transported gas but sold gas. And Dennis was extremely fair to the small systems and actually helped us in the negotiations at Washington and different places. And I'll always remember him for that and not treating large customers any different.
Mr. Newberry was a big part of the gas light brigade across the state of Tennessee years ago, and I'm sure that there are still some gas lights out there now that are still burning because of a sale that he and his team made.
Newberry retired at Texas Gas in 1985. Later, served on the board of directors of United Cities Gas for almost 2 decades. Newberry and his wife of 53 years, Thelma, have 3 children. Dennis Newberry. This year, the TGA honors 2 true pioneers, Lester Sims, Dennis Newberry, winners of the 2010 Thomas R. Bell Pioneer Award.